It's 8:18. Michael
I
Long.
would support that, by the way.
There is, I know you would. I know. You feel that.
Wow.
He already has me on a list here at the station. Michael Long is chairman of the Conservative Party in New York. They have endorsed Assemblywoman Claudia Tenney. Now, a board that he sits on is the American Conservative Union. Matt Schlapp will be on later on in the hour. But Mike Long disagreed with their decision to endorse, I believe anyway, I don't want to put words in his mouth, their decision to endorse George Phillips. And the Conservative Party in New York has endorsed Assemblywoman Tenney. After all of that, Mike, thanks for coming on. Good morning.
Good to be with you.
So,
Great to be with you.
Briefly, on the issue of our rights, our constitutional rights, and where all of this is going, it's easy to portray Republicans. They're right, by the way, on this issue, in my opinion, on guns. It's easy to portray them as insensitive and not caring about the people that were massacred in Orlando. But it's about the slippery slope, right?
Well, it's not only about the slippery slope, but it's about what the real issue is here. And the real issue is terrorism. And it's Islamic terrorism, which the Democrats have a problem recognizing and don't want to recognize, from the president on down. And now we have a display of anarchy in the House, in the Congress, with Democrats laying on the floor. And they showing their real worth to our society and being disruptors, which what they are.
And Mike, don't you worry though that there's a public opinion that this occurs every time. Listen, are you a New Yorker? We're from New York.
Naturally, I'm a New Yorker.
So listen, you know that that's how Cuomo got this SAFE Act passed. Emotion. Correct. And that's what the general public and a good percentage of people in this country have right now. So they're like, yeah, they're standing up for us. Finally, we're going to stop these terrorists from getting guns. That's how they see it.
Well, that's how they see it, but they have it wrong, in plain English. And bottom line is, they don't realize what they're wishing for. Just imagine if in fact, the Democrats or whoever in Washington, I don't want to surrender my right so that someone puts me on a list just because I'm the New York State Conservative Party chairman.
Right.
So that's what happened with the IRS. And that's what could happen with this kind of conversation.
Just to be clear,
legislation that's being proposed by the Democrats.
It's not clicking for you, Jeff.
Just to be clear, you support you think the Omar Mateen guy should have been able to purchase a gun lawfully. You don't think there should have been any red flag because of his background, because he had been talked to by the FBI. You support him as a United States citizen. He had a right to go buy that gun and murder those people.
Not murder those people. That's unfair.
Well, okay, all right.
Let Mike
take that part
that.
out.
Let him answer that.
Well, I don't think he should have been off the list. I think what's happened, because we're dealing with such political correctness from the Justice Department on down, they pushed the FBI to put him off the list. It's a possibility he still would have been able to get a gun if, in fact, he was on the list. But the bottom line is, if he was left on the list, that would have
watched him.
Flag would have went off.
And the difference is he gets on the list because he's plotting against the United States. The FBI determines this man is potentially about to commit treason.
They didn't determine that.
But they didn't. That's Mike's point.
And the reason they didn't is because we're dealing with a Justice Department that is dealing with political correctness. And they just refuse to recognize people who we're at war here. And they refuse to realize that the people who are declaring war on us, they don't want to recognize that.
You can't just...
I think he's agreeing with me.
He's not.
No, he's not.
He's saying the guy should have been on the list. There was no evidence he plotted.
But if he's on the list, he can still purchase a gun, but he would have been watched. That's the difference.
But beyond...
Correct.
There you go. And the difference is that the FBI does its job, not just a committee saying, oh, this person doesn't deserve a gun. We're going to put them on a list. And, there's 50 people with the same name. It's done through due process. They actually investigate and they determine that he is a threat to the United States. That becomes a completely different issue.
Did he have due process when he went on the list?
But he's not on the list. He didn't get on the list.
Mike just said he was on the list and he shouldn't have come off.
I don't know that he was on the list ever. I think he was investigated, Mike.
Investigated, correctly.
I don't think he was on the list.
I stated
so
that
then
wrong.
You support his right to that he could have gone and got that gun. Despite the things that he said.
Because Mike supports your right. That's the slippery slope. But I want to switch gears, Mike, because we could go on for this all day long.
Okay.
It'll click. Honest, it will in a little while for me. It's gonna click.
Thanks, Bill. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, Mike, let's talk about clicking with the ACU. You're on the board. They are really coming out and actually spending a lot of money against Assemblywoman Tenney. The New York State Conservative Party, which you head, is supporting her. How is this happening? What's going on?
Well, the ACU has made a mistake here. Look, I've been a board member of the ACU's for over 20 years, and they clearly made a mistake here. They certainly didn't confer with me. They called me to tell me that they were doing it. They didn't ask my opinion. And you know, I don't think they understand the history. The conservative leaders throughout the congressional district clearly are supporting Claudia Tenney. You know, she took on Congressman Hanna 2 years ago, the most liberal Republican congressman in the United States, and she had the courage to take him on 2 years ago. And she's a grassroots conservative legislator in the Assembly, and this time she came back again to take him out again. And I got a call, for instance, from George Phillips saying after she was already in the race for about 4 weeks, said, "Listen, I just heard that the possibility that Congressman Hanna may get out of the race. And if he does, I want you to know I'm considering jumping into the race."
Yeah.
I told him up front that Claudia already had the Conservative Party support.
Christine.
The rank and file conservatives were already for Claudia. He wasn't going to run. If Congressman Hanna stayed in this race, George Phillips wasn't going to take on the challenge. There's a big difference. That says volumes about someone who wants to make a difference in our society.
Right.
And Claudia has had the courage to take on an incumbent congressman, like I said, the most liberal Republican in the entire United States.
Here's Christine.
Michael, would you talk a little bit about the American Conservative Union? The statement has been made that it's nothing more than a social club. Do you agree with that?
Well, it's not a social club, but look, they've made a mistake here, and
well, that's
usually this.
In fairness,
never happened before. I mean, like I said, I've been on the board for 20 some odd years, and they're very strong on conservative policy. They promote conservative policy. We have the largest political action conference in D.C. once a year. It's the largest event that brings tens of thousands of youngsters and people from all over the country. But the difference is, and the New York State Conservative Party has been the Conservative Union's representative in New York State for since the beginning of the Conservative Union.
So despite your endorsement of Assemblywoman Tenney, you disagree. She really had some harsh words to say about the ACU.
Right, man, I don't blame her because she is a bonnet. Look, in 2013, she got the highest conservative rating of any legislator in New York in the New York State Assembly.
Yeah,
she's been on the front line. I mean, she's taken on Sheldon Silver. She's taken on Andrew Cuomo.
So why
she's fought against the SAFE Act. She's clearly a person who doesn't fool around and doesn't mince words, and she's a true conservative believer.
So where did this come from the American Conservative Union?
George Phillips, I know him for a lot of years. He ran twice in a different congressional district many years ago. He has involved himself on the Washington scene in conservative policies.
Yeah.
So therefore, I think he's got a group of friends that he's been able to develop in Washington, D.C. But the difference is the conservatives in New York clearly did not endorse him. He has no conservative leaders in New York State supporting him.
All right,
absolutely none. So here we have the Conservative Union, which I'm a member of, and I'm very disappointed what they did here. But the bottom line is, they have he's the support of a Washington organization against the New York State Conservative Party, who brought us Jim Buckley, who brought us William F. Buckley, who carried the state of New York for Ronald Reagan in 80 and 84. I was a member of the Electoral College for Reagan in 80 and 84. I think my conservative credentials are very clear. Claudia Tenney is the right person for this congressional seat.
Right. And Matt Schlapp is going to come on, and we're going to speak with him later in the hour. And he's going to tell us, and he actually invited us to invite him to come on so that he can explain how they came up with their conclusion that they would not support Assemblywoman Tenney. And he did say if it was between Tenney and Hannah, he certainly would support Tenney. But he really had very harsh things to say about the way Assemblywoman Tenney works with others and the way she carries herself. He had a real problem with that. Well,
maybe, look, she's very outspoken. She's very independent. She really takes no nonsense off anybody. She's a reformer in the Assembly, and most of the establishment don't like that. And I'm afraid Matt's got bad information here. On the ground in this congressional district, Claudia Tenney, look, she almost took out Congressman Hanna 2 years ago. And matter of fact, I believe she's the one who forced Hanna out this time. Once she announced that she was going again, Congressman Hanna didn't want to go through that fight again.
Yeah.
Now we got two other people that have come into the race after Hanna leaves. If you're really a conservative, and that goes for George Phillips. If he really wanted to run against Hanna, then he should have announced long before. Wait till he got out of the way.
All right, Andrew, with a quick question.
Do you feel that maybe the reason that Hanna won is that this district is predominantly moderate when it comes to the people who vote in the district?
No, I think there's a lot of very good conservative element in this district, and I think it fits a person like Claudia Tenney very, very well.
All right.
Very well.
All right, listen, Mike Long, thanks so much. We'll follow this up, and I know that we've told you that Matt Schlapp will be on later on in the hour.
Matt's a good friend, but Matt made a mistake here, and this is evidently about personalities. And George has a lot of friends in Washington, but you know what? The important place to have friends is in New York State through the rank and file of the Conservative Party membership.
All right, Michael Long, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate it, and we'll bring you back for a gun debate maybe down the road. That would be
I'd be glad to do that.
Interesting conversation. Thanks so much. Got a break. 8:30 at WIBX.